Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Carlie. Thanks for being on my channel, Consciousness with Carlie. We're going to give everyone a moment to come on, and today we are having Mattaeo Kleine welcome us, and he is going to go into his journey about what brought him to his own self-discovery and inspired his poetic journey. So we're going to bring him on. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. Okay, I'm going to invite you. Where are you at? There you are.
Hello, hello.
Wow, it's taken a while.
Am I coming in? Coming in clear?
You are clear.
All right.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm just surprised that it's taken us so long to talk in person, but it feels
Yeah,
like we've been doing this forever. And
absolutely.
this is our first time talking on video, so I'm pretty excited about that. I figured today we could just kind of dive into your journey of self-discovery and what led you to the inspiration for your poetry. What do you think?
Sounds good. I
All
like
right.
it. I like it. So I'll go ahead and start it off. So to those of you who do not know me, my name is Mattaeo Kleine, and I'm a spiritual poet. I create inspirational poetry for spiritual people. And I'm gonna just go ahead. Okay, before I even get into that, I do have a book that's being released. It's called The 111 Perceptions of Light. Be on the lookout for that. I'm going to keep you guys updated when it comes through. And just to start it off with the spiritual awakening experience, the good points. Um, so I got to give a precursor before I even give the spiritual awakening experience. As most of you already know, they can be some pretty brutal situations, depending on how it aligns for you. But nonetheless, for me, it started back in 2007. I had a friend that was actually a Freemason, and we had a conversation. He was telling me about the world. He was just telling me about how everything works, and it totally blew my mind. And after this conversation, I was inspired. I was like, man, I got to research. And that conversation led to pretty much a path of research that pretty much lasted from 2007 to 2017. And during this time, I was just studying the world, how everything works, and just the makeup of this matrix system in which we live in. And another part too, something that'd be good to know. During this time, I was raised religious. So I consider myself a devout Christian at that time. And that research, it pretty much caused me to put down the Bible. It caused me to put down everything that I was taught. And it really motivated me to find God for myself. Whatever, I'll call it source now, but at that time, it was like whatever God is and whatever it looks like, I got to find it. And even this path of research, it wasn't the easiest thing for me to deal with, especially like I said, coming from a religious background, and you getting hit with spiritual stuff. And during this time, it was so bad that even at times during this research, I could feel the presence of what you would call entities that would basically taunt me during this time of my research, trying to get me to get off this journey. Entities would come with different messages, and I would hear things like, "You're Christian. You're not supposed to be looking at this. What are you doing? You can't. We don't believe this." It's like all these paradigms that I held on to was basically surfacing and causing me to have to heal and go through a lot of things that I didn't really necessarily knew was going to happen. But at that time, I was just so determined to figure out whatever God was or whatever the truth was, that I was willing to go through it in order to get to the other end and see what it was all about. And like I said, from 2007 to 2017, it was just a straight up time of research and development. And at the end of that research, in December 2017, I ended up having my spiritual awakening experience, on what was supposed to be a 4-day trip in Maui, Hawaii, ended up turning into a 4-month experience that pretty much broke down everything to me, the world at large. It was like, and it radically changed everything. During this time, during the spiritual awakening experience in 2017, before that point, I hadn't written anything. I didn't know about spiritual terminologies. At the time, I didn't even know I was having a spiritual awakening experience. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't have the vernacular to articulate any of this to anybody. But I know that I'm being revealed things from the ultimate power there is. Excuse me. Let me fix that back. So I'm being revealed things from the ultimate power there is. And in my heart and in my mind, I couldn't deny it. And during this time, like, not only did my gifts and my path and everything that I'm supposed to do, all of this stuff pretty much just unfolded for me. But it was downloads after downloads, day after day after day. And even experiencing the Akashic records, all of this stuff was happening during this 4-month period. I had, like I said, I didn't have a guide to hold my hand, and fancy little folks that you see today that'll just tell you everything and lay it out for you, what's going on with you. So I pretty much just had to thug it out, and it was the best thing I ever did. And I know some of you may be going through your spiritual awakening experiences at this time, and I want to just let you know, be encouraged. If truth is leading you, and if your spirit is leading you to find what that ultimate truth is for you, do not derail from your path. Keep on going. No matter how rough it is, there is a beautiful light at the end, and you will find it within yourself.
Wow. Yeah, I do have to say, energetically, like being in your presence right now, I kind of had a feeling it was going to be like this, but I didn't recognize the magnitude of it. But I can literally see my face in your face. I can see me in you. I can feel you so deeply that I'm almost certain that you're a Capricorn. Like there's something really grounded and earthy that's within you that makes me feel like I'm looking at me, and it's really intense.
It is all right. That is all right.
So I'm really blessed
Hear you.
to have you today, because everything that you're saying is just, it's so true. It's a frequency, and it is it's authenticity, and this is what I've been asking for, is for more brothers and sisters that can see me, and to for years, for us to not have done a live or really connected in this way.
Right.
And to see you on camera, and it to be when we're both consciously able to recognize the frequency, within each other.
Absolutely.
It's the remembrance of seeing self. So I hope everyone that's watching this is paying close attention to how they feel and what they're witnessing
Yes.
within our connection, because this is what we're moving into, is this type of unity. So yeah, thank you.
Totally. So anyone that's just joining in on the live, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and we'll get to them when we have that opportunity. I don't get on live very much. I know some of you may have some things to say to me, or anything that's on your mind, but feel free. Go ahead and let that flow, whatever it is.
Absolutely. So when you went through that spiritual awakening, just for others to hear this, what shifted out of your life?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that would be the flip side, what I like to call the flip side of the spiritual awakening experience. So for me, in addition to obtaining all this new awareness, it definitely created a huge shift in my personal life. So much so that after that experience in 2017, I went home and pretty much spent the next year and a half witnessing everything that I had built, relationships, friends, companies, everything just dissolved in front of my face. I just witnessed the loss of everything within a year and a half time span after that spiritual awakening experience. Mm-hmm. And after that, I pretty much had to relocate to a whole brand new city and start fresh.
Wow. And like relationship wise, like did you notice some people that stayed in resonance with your energy, or was everyone kind of shifted out?
See, now that's a good point you bring up. With any spiritual awakening, we know one thing: you want to lose something. But the question is, how big will it be? Some people, depending on what the things that you have in your life that doesn't truly resonate, it could, be a small scenario. But for me, it was not small at all. I pretty much lost everything I had. I lost homes, I lost cars, relationships out of the wazoo. Pretty much everything that I had, everything that was attached to me in that old life, friends, even family members, all of that went away. I pretty much left a life to where I was outgoing, always out, always with friends, family, pretty social person. And I gave it up to become a hermit almost, so to say, to basically hone in on what it is Spirit was guiding me and directing me into. And I haven't regretted the journey so far. It completely changed who I was, and I am appreciative for the change.
Absolutely. Yeah, that the same thing happened to me. It was that enlightened state. You get to enjoy the beauty of it all, and it seems like after that awakening is when I lost everything.
Mm,
And I was the same as you. The home, the cars, the businesses, the relationship, everything was gone because it was
absolutely.
never meant to be with me the entire time. It was meant to wake me up. And then once it did its job, it didn't have that role to play for me anymore.
Oh yeah. And it's the key is what you mentioned earlier about authenticity. Authenticity really is the backbone to not only life in general, but definitely with the spiritual nature and the spiritual side of us as human beings in this experience. That which truly aligns with you and that which is supposed to be in your life. Whether it's there now or whether you gravitate towards that later in your development. But the truth is it's a line. It's written in the stars. It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You might have to let some things go. You might have to, be in a scenario where you're used to having money, and the next thing you know, that's not there anymore. But we can't be discouraged or anything like that. Just know that greater is on the way.
Right. Because the destiny is always going to be evolution back home to self. And if you look at it in terms of I am consciousness and the 90 I am it all,
Yeah,
if we're evolving to go back into a space of pure enlightenment where we recognize that we are it all and we are back in the law of one consciously, you
absolutely.
know, we're always destined to become that. But once we become that, there's nothing else to do other than go back to a 1D and ask yourself, what am I? And start the whole process over again, right? It's always that
Absolutely.
rediscovery back home to your truest self. And there's nothing else to do.
Right about that. Nothing you can do but embrace the journey.
Absolutely. Do you want to talk a little bit about, not a little bit, as much as you want, but just about your poetry in general? Like, what are you doing with the book? What's going on with that? Just talk about it. All
Okay,
about your
yeah.
poetry.
I definitely have some explaining to do towards the book. I get DMs about that all the time. And the pretty much the hold up behind that is that I'm currently in the process of building the publishing company and the business infrastructure that supports my work. Like if I was the type of guy or author to just stick it on Amazon, have it, I could have had that out a long time ago. But Spirit is making me go the longer route with my work and actually, control and own the foundation behind it. So that's where I'm at with that right now. And I do have some mentors that are helping me out, and hopefully we're able to bring this thing through sometime soon. Yeah,
Wonderful.
stand by for that book.
But so years ago, when I was reading your poetry, did you have a book out and published yet? Or were you just posting your poetry? Like you haven't had your book published yet, right?
Right.
Okay.
At that time, I had some ebooks that were floating around
Okay.
in different places, but the majority of, I guess, people knowing me was based on my audience on Instagram, being the Insta poet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Instagram's been the most amazing community. It carried me through all of my dark nights of the souls and the connection to everyone. I just feel like it's the best platform when it comes to this type of energy because it's easier to connect. Like
Absolutely.
commenting and messaging and all that, it just feels like it's more connected than any other platform, honestly.
Oh yeah. For me, Instagram definitely has been a blessing. I've even had the opportunity to meet up with different, what I like to call soul family. My soul tribe is like, it's really been a blessing. And it's a privilege to even have this nowadays to where we can connect and meet up with folks like that and just have those types of experience. So yeah, I'm right there with you. It's definitely been a blessing for me as well.
Mhm. What do you want to go into? If you want to keep talking about your book or anything, bring it up. Because if not, then I'm going to start diving into some energetic things with you and start asking about your perspective.
Oh, don't tip me with a good time. You can go ahead and get with it.
Right? So, okay, this is my question for you and just what you're feeling. So, like in the last month, with like there's been so many shifts that have been happening within us, and I'm just wondering what your experience has been with new energy coming in. Like for me, I feel this very strong divine feminine energy, and it's like a blanket that's laid itself upon all of us, and it's a gentle, nurturing, innocent, pure energy that I feel like we're kind of being asked to protect like an egg. That's how I was shown, is you're protecting this energy like an egg. And it's like, how would you treat a precious pearl, a precious egg?
Yeah.
You wouldn't drop it, scream at it, kick it, let somebody come and punch it, break it, whatever, right?
Mhm.
That's what I feel like we're being asked to do, is kind of nurture this like nest egg of this energy that's coming in. And I'm just curious if you've been feeling that softness or what you've been
So
experiencing.
this energy that you're referring to, I see that is the divine feminine actually reaching different perspectives of herself. It's like the universe is like a mirror at times, and it's basically reflecting back to you what's going on within you. So the divine feminine has really went through changes within the last decade or so. This spiritual awakening in general that the divine feminine has been going through has laid the groundwork for not only healing, but the opportunity to evolving in ways as in many people have been forced, many women have been forced collectively to be in this state of masculine energy. This masculine energy, which has caused them to have to basically step out of pocket and kind of have this built up energy or built up perspective to protect themselves and do things that the masculine divine should have been doing, but due to a lack of presence, she had to become this out of pocket player in the game in order to survive.
Mm.
It's a survival mechanism, so to say. But through this whole time of change and consciousness shifting and this awareness being bestowed upon her, she's been doing the work collectively. She's been doing the work. And this reflection of purity, this reflection of, this straight valuable energy, as her witnessing her own truth in a higher perspective, it's in a higher form. That's that's what I see going on with that.
Mhm. Yeah, and I feel that as well, and everything that you're saying is what I've been receiving as well. And since I received that emotional response to you, I know now through telepathy that we are plugged into the same channel right at the moment. So
Absolutely.
everything that you're saying is what I've been receiving. And for women, it is that we're being asked to rest in our feminine now, and also to heal our masculine within us, right, in
Yeah.
a divine way, because the
Mm-hmm.
codependency right now for people is out of control, and it's because it's right at the surface. So it's
Absolutely.
another layer of healing for the divine feminine, who have been told to just submit and allow the man to take care of it, and then all generations of doing that, and then it being ripped out from underneath them caused so much fear not being grounded, because you
Absolutely.
get grounded and then the rug's pulled out from underneath you.
Hmm.
You know, and so there's so much fear, and the codependency and attachments have been blowing up in a lot of feminine's faces because they need to see where they are still latching on to fear, that they can't take care of themselves. So they're healing
Absolutely.
their masculine with feminine energy. It
Hmm.
it, it heals itself when you really
Absolutely.
tap into it. It's simultaneous.
Divine feminine energy is a natural healer. Absolutely. So, on another perspective associated with that, the divine masculine and his role is like as she's lifted, he's being impacted also.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the divine feminine who's basically coming to the realization of self on a collective layer. You have the divine masculine who's also being lifted because of the work that she's put in and because of the evolution that she's gone through. We all are energetically connected. So this matrix is kind of set up like everything is an illusion. Everything right looks left, left looks right, and it's like separation seems to be a theme, but it's all an illusion. So as she evolves and as she continues to evolve, her counterpart is not only blessed by the work she has put in, but he's actually rising to the place where he can properly compensate for her. The system has a way of balancing itself out, and we're watching that happen right now. And like you were saying earlier, there's a lot of energies at play right now. You can feel it, not only on the home front of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, but human consciousness in general is witnessing things and going through things and evolving. It's kind of like a little bit of a roller coaster we're experiencing. But all of these bumps and humps and turmoils is basically molding us into this evolutionary point we're headed to. You know, even count the rough stuff, even count that a blessing. It's all working out for our highest good.
Always, always. So Nicole said, "What do you both think of our embodiment sovereignty?" I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, Nicole, but I can tap into it. I'm sure Mattaeo can too. Think of our embodiment sovereignty. To me, sovereignty is true liberated freedom. It's true authentic energy. It's all the same energy, just with a different angle of perspective to that energy, right? That's how I
Absolutely.
feel. Like sovereignty, truth, authenticity, it's all the same energy. It's just different angles of how to express what that energy is.
Right.
Um, so what do we think of our embodiment sovereignty? Like, to embody sovereignty, um, I would say that it's kind of like being immersed in the ocean. If the ocean is your sovereignty and your freedom, and you're fully immersed in that, and you become the ocean, you no longer even need to breathe because you're
Absolutely.
not separate from it. You become the ocean,
Oh, yeah.
right?
So even to further kind of piggyback on what you're saying, like the sovereignty or embodying that which within us, when I think of human nature in general, at this point in the game, I see us as basically the embodiment of source energy itself. We're basically extensions of that. And as much as we can dig into the authenticity, and as much as we can release these paradigms that are no longer positively serving us as a collective, is to more even to more expound within that sovereignty and to express that even more fully. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so did another question just pop up? I
Yeah,
just
it's
saw that.
Nicole. So she said, is it critical for the rise of our divine feminine and masculine? Embodying sovereignty, that is, that, I mean, yeah, you have to
Absolutely.
balance out
I
both.
would say absolutely.
Yeah.
So I would definitely agree with that.
You have to, and this is why you can't run away from the codependency and the attachments and the addiction to distraction and the addiction to narcissism, because it's what you know, right?
Yes,
I know narcissism, so I'm comfortable being a victim, right?
absolutely.
And then it triggers you when you're in the presence of a divine masculine presence, because you can't be a victim because they're not beating you down. So
Right.
it's uncomfortable when you're not being beat down because you're used to being shackled. And then when you're free, you still act as if you're shackled. because it's what you know.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
So yes, it is critical. So anybody that, is feeling the pull to dive more into their divine feminine or dive more into their divine masculine, it's guiding you there because it needs you. Consciousness has to be witnessed. Divine feminine is a consciousness, divine masculine is a consciousness that's within you, and both have to see each other in order for them to know that the other exists, in order for there to be a wholeness.
Absolutely.
And so we're just bringing awareness to it, right? Just be aware of your divine masculine. He's not that scary. Stop running from him.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, that's pretty good questions there. But yeah, so the divine feminine mask, and these are great questions to talk about with you, because everything that you write about is so in depth with the divine masculine, the divine feminine, our rise in consciousness, the everything that you
Absolutely.
write poetry on is all of this energy. It's a different angle at the same energy.
It definitely is. And when I do my writing, majority of that stuff is mostly coming from my higher awareness. At times, there are situations where I channel from source, and through between those two conduits, the information is just, it's not directed in one particular area. It's kind of all over the place. So, yeah, that's pretty much how I've been flowing with that. So to
Right,
say,
but it is in flow because you don't deny the human experience and you aren't denying the higher self experience. You're bridging it.
absolutely.
And that's how I see it
Yeah,
when you talk about it.
absolutely. We have to.
We have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I talk to my clients a lot about this, where it's like, the more aware you are of the hell that's here, like, as, angels or whatever you want to call the higher frequency
Mhm.
part of you, it dives headfirst into the human experience, because we have to be able to relate with humanity. And that's why so many of us have had, traumatic experiences as light workers, because we have to go into the experience as deep as we can and then transcend it, right? We can't just show up
Absolutely.
and say, "Hey, be light and love," when all humans know is trauma. So
Oh,
we
yeah.
have to understand trauma, and that's
Right.
bridging the ego and the higher self into the experience, so we can come back here and be humans and actually enjoy it.
And that's the thing about trauma. I'm glad you bring that point up because someone has to do the work for that. Everyone doesn't get, especially light workers and all the folks that are here that's like to do what I say, build a new earth. It's like somebody has to transmute that energy. You can't just, kick it around and be like, oh, and ignore it, or it's going to go away from the collective, or we're just going to stand by. No, somebody has to do the work in order for that to happen. And that's why right now on the planet, we got the light workers, star seeds, and different helpers from all areas of the universe down here right now to help us transmute that energy and descend to where we're supposed to be. So even talked about that right now. That's pretty much in alignment with the times, with what's going on. So yeah,
Right. Yeah, and I mean, we're seeing it on every scale, and this is where I just feel so strongly about us talking about why there's no fear. Why there is no fear, and it's because, we're seeing things blow up in the world, literally blowing up in the world, and they're things that have always existed. They've always been there, right? And you weren't
absolutely.
scared of it when you didn't know about it, and now it's here and it's in your face and everybody's afraid of it, but it's like it was going on the whole time, and we need it to come up. So we're seeing the lower levels of consciousness on this planet use their throats, use their throat
Yeah,
chakra, and protest and feel from their heart, right? It's pain, but they're releasing pain, they're releasing anger, they're moving that energy
yeah.
out of them, and it's liberating them. It's actually freeing them. So it's giving them the opportunity to free themselves, that lower level of consciousness, right? The shame and the guilt and the fear,
Oh yeah,
so it can rise. And us who have already transcended that, they're pushing us up. We're all
absolutely.
connected and we're seeing it, you know?
hmm And it's just like you say, like a lot of this stuff that's coming up right now. These things have been going on for a very long time. There's a lot of things were in the dark, but we're at the place in consciousness where we can actually let the sunlight shine, so to say, the light of source, the light that's bringing, basically creating radical change in areas that haven't been able to experience, that has never happened before. Humans, we got insight now. That's as simple as I could put it. We can see things that the decades before us, they couldn't see any of this. There was no internet. Information wasn't available like this. A lot of this stuff has been going on for years, but we're at the place in human consciousness where we're able to see all of these things now. And with this insight comes the opportunity for healing. With this insight comes the opportunity for transmutation of all of these energies. So even right now, when you see things popping up in the media, don't even trip about them. Just realize that's something that's always been there. But now Spirit is basically providing us the opportunity to where we can see it, change it, fix it, evolve, ascend, and move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The light casting itself upon the shadows. And the contrast has to exist, but the contrast doesn't have to exist in the depths that it has. We can still have contrast. So, like in a fifth dimensional plane of experience, there's still contrast. It's just that we're not playing in such low levels of consciousness, meaning fear, shame, and guilt, where actually our baseline frequency is neutrality and
Absolutely.
peace, right? And acceptance. Like it's not even acceptance at that point, because you have to get to acceptance in order to get to neutrality and peace. So I
Oh, yeah.
really see us getting to this baseline frequency of neutrality with the contrast, so we can still have an experience of shadow. I mean, the only
Oh,
reason
yeah.
why you can see my face right now is because there's a mix of shadow and light, you know. Like scientifically, it's casting shadows and creating some form to show up for you to look at,
Contrast is necessary. Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
And I see that. And so, like, the fifth dimensional plane, I don't see it as some poof, like dreamy, magical, crazy light thing. I see it as an experience that is just in a higher frequency,
Absolutely.
a lighter experience, literally.
Oh, yeah. Totally. I agree with that. All of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I feel like right now, I really feel like a lot of us are in it, to be honest. It's like we're in that
Oh, no doubt
frequency.
about it. No doubt about it. What I like to say is the new earth is now.
It's
That's not a future thing. That's right now.
yeah.
It's happening.
Mm-hmm.
You're in it.
It's exciting because it's like when you have other mirrors that can see it just like you do, and you're like, okay, now it's reality, because I can create things in my own head and live it out alone. But when you have reflections that can see you and hear you and know you, that's when it becomes proof to the truth, right? And
Absolutely.
so this is proof of the
Truth to the
frequency.
truth.
Yeah, I've been
Oh, yeah.
saying that a lot
I
lately.
like
Like,
that.
we have to have proof, you know, in any level of consciousness, you need to have proof, because consciousness has to be witnessed. So once it
Absolutely.
witnesses it, it becomes that truth of, oh, okay, now this is reality. It's not saying that anything is right or wrong or good or bad. It's just my reality, my truth is a frequency. It doesn't matter the stories that I create with it. Oh, I'm Carlie, I'm wearing an orange shirt, you know, this, I live here,
Absolutely.
whatever. None of that matters. It's just the consciousness that's expanded, that's looking through my eyes. To me, that's the truth. And it can
Absolutely.
see others.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
You you remind me of a oneness experience, just right there in what you just said. Yeah, separation definitely is an illusion. This consciousness that resides behind us all is pretty much connecting everything.
Mm.
It pretty much is the field. It is this force that we call life that permeates through everything. You might get the appearance of, a him or her, a masculine, a feminine, or, all of these different labels we can create. But at the end of the day, it's all consciousness. It's all
Mhm.
pure consciousness.
And I keep getting these visions of, like, when you post on your stories, like I asked you, where's that waterfall at? You know, you're like, oh, it's here, whatever. I see why you do that. I'm seeing you like videoing and taking photos of like the environment and stuff, and I can literally hear you saying, and there I am. And there I am. I am the waterfall. I am the rocks. And I can hear you doing that when you're posting those
You
things.
know, that if I was to describe the feeling I get while doing that into words, you pretty much just said it for me. You just said it. That is exactly what I feel through moments like that. Absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah, and there is no separation. That's how I felt at the ocean the other day, with the full moon and the lunar, eclipse and everything else. It's the ocean was talking to me, and we're in this ocean energy, and our superpowers are the elements, right? They're the elements, so it's like earth, water, air, like whatever the elements are in each planet is what your superpowers are. So when you become unified with the element that you are feeling, like the ocean, if I'm feeling the element of the ocean, that's a good time for me to move water, to move
Yeah.
emotion through the ocean. It's literally the same energetic signature as the ocean that I'm able to experience in my body. And if you think of it like this, the earth is 70% water or 75% water,
Right.
so is the body. It's the
Yes, it is.
exact same structure.
Exactly. Pretty much reflections of ourselves. That's what this experience is
Yeah.
all about.
And when
Witnessing
we start
and experiencing.
earth, earth bending, air bending, water bending,
Oh, yeah.
avatar, it's real.
It's real and it is your nature. It is your divine nature to function in such capacities. Absolutely.
Yes. And even like I was receiving this information yesterday from my higher self, and you know how like they talk about how we're like missing a zodiac? Like we're supposed to have
Mm-hmm.
13 months, but they took one
Right.
out. Well, I was kind of like talking to my higher self about this, and I received the information that, the horoscopes are one thing because they're more intricate levels of getting to understand the avatar that you're in and like what energy that it carries. But
Mm.
what really matters the most is not necessarily the month of your horoscope. And I'm not an astrologist. I'm just saying it doesn't really matter. What matters is the element of energy that you are directly connected to. So for me, it's earth and air. I don't have any water closely in my chart. I don't work with water. It's hard for me to, cry emotionally in that way unless it's like direct divine connection. And that's
Mm.
why I don't work with water, because with earth it's very grounded. I work with the earth, and if you get me to cry because of the connection, it's real because I'm not a crier, right? So
Mm.
that's how it shows me confirmation through the water. But
Wow.
I just noticed that with the elements recently, so strongly about how our superpowers are going to be the elements. And if everyone could just do like what you've been doing, like go to the waterfalls, go out in nature, just tap in to your energy, like what feels like you, what's your mirror,
Absolutely.
nature wise.
Even this all this talk about nature, and it's like, man, like you hitting up my alley. I was one of my followers, they hit at me yesterday, and they were saying like, you have some great pictures outdoors, but I got a question for you. Do you ever like go in the house? It's like you're always outside. Then I said, yeah, well, I tried to avoid the house as much as possible because nature is where all the power is. Oh my goodness. It's like my greatest revelation doesn't always come when I'm out and about or walking around. It's when I'm alone in the forest, when I'm grounded, when I'm in nature. It's like that's when my greatest revelations come to me. You know,
Right. Hmm.
that is nature. That's home. That's Mama Gaia. If y'all ain't spending time with her, y'all ain't doing the game no justice.
Yep.
Spend
Yeah.
time in nature. Be with the elements. They will teach you more about you than anyone.
Yeah. They will. And this is like, so God, source, created humor, right? And this is why this is when it gets comical, because we make it so complex. But I remember recently, like this spring, I went to the Redwoods, okay? And I remember I was channeling information, and my higher self kept saying, the message is in the trees. So I'm on this quest, right? I'm like, the message is in the trees. Like I'm getting all analytical with it. And I'm like, okay, what's in the trees? There's some type of code. There's something there that I need to know about. And what ended up happening is like I'm out in the forest and I'm surrounded by these trees. And I look at the trees and they start talking to me. And they said, "We will guide you to the grandest to remind you of what you are." Right? Because they were the grandest trees that you could be in. And they said that to me, and I went, and I started bawling and laughing at the same time. And I said, "The message is in the trees." Right?
Wow.
All of
Wow.
that complexity just for the trees to look at me so grand and say, "And we are you."
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You stirred me up inside when you said that.
Yep.
Trees have been some, I ain't gonna lie, it's been some of my greatest friends. It's like just the amount of the wisdom that they carry, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Each tree is like dealing with the person that in nature, the ground, they're basically connected, plugged straight into the earth. So Gaia's energy is like entangled in with them. You're pretty much at the base of the power on this planet, and you're all tangled into it. So whenever you walk past a tree or whenever you get near one, what I like to do is take my hand, I'll place it on the tree, and I'll take a hand sometimes and I'll put this one on my heart. And I'll communicate back and forth with the tree. If you give the tree a moment to respond, just what you get is sometimes it won't be in words. Sometimes what you'll get is you'll get energetic feelings, and with those feelings, they will communicate messages through it. I mean, just the sheer amount of wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Your audio turned off. Okay.
Oh,
You're good now.
okay,
You said sheer amount of wisdom.
that fits in the tree. If all of us collectively, if humanity collectively could tap into the trees alone, would be enough to change this whole game around.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, when I was in the Redwoods, they had this museum before I had that big communication with the trees, because I was searching for, you know, some type of crazy knowledge I thought I was getting from these tree codes. And
Yeah.
I went in this museum and there was this photo of what you just said, and it was the trees and there was roots. And it was a painting, and the roots were hands holding on to each other. And in the Redwoods, three massive trees will interlink underneath the ground and pull each other in. So you'll see three of them connected as one at the base with three massive trees coming out of one trunk because they pull each other in. It's a
Wow.
network, it's a
Definitely
foundation.
the network.
It is incredible. And when I saw that, and I went out to the redwoods out after the museum, I went out into the trees, and that unity, right? You know, that if a tree falls, it signals all the other trees to let it know that it's dying, and they all send through their roots, they send energy to that tree. And that's why you'll see half trunks that are still thriving, but they're just the trunk because the trees are sending it nutrients because
Wow.
it's their family, it's soul family.
Absolutely. The
Yeah.
energy between, to even have that happen, the reflection of consciousness and energy that happens just within an interaction like that, it's proof that the trees are, they're plugged into the collective consciousness that they all share. Like humans, we are, separated by paradigms, by all of these different things that come in and cloud our vision. But when we connect, or when these stuff that dissolve, when all of these delusions and little distractions, that paradigms that just separate us, when these things dissolve, the unity that is displayed within those trees is the natural flow in which humans should be operating in. We are all connected, and there is no such thing as, you know, you going through this alone, or you going through that experience alone. The togetherness that naturally exists within us puts us in a place where there is no such thing as alone. You are always connected. You are always, in that place of community,
Right.
energetically speaking.
Yeah.
And that's another thing we can benefit from tapping into. That beautiful example. Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like me and you have very like strong earth energy, so it's easy for us to connect to trees in that way because it's super rooted.
Absolutely.
And there's also the tops of the trees. I mean, I live in a rainforest right now. I live in Florida in a
Oh,
rainforest, and
blessed.
yeah, the
Blessed.
rainforest is on the beach. So I can go outside into the rainforest, and 3 minutes down the road, we just walk right out onto the beach in the same state park.
Wow.
So it's been incredible to see two totally different environments and feel like all of it. I feel like the jungle and the rainforest. I feel like the ocean.
Yeah,
They're not separated. It's like the kaleidoscope. My best friend always tells me this. It's the same kaleidoscope, but when you shift it, all the colors change.
that's right.
All of the shapes change, but it's still a kaleidoscope, and you can shift
Absolutely.
it. And we can do that with our environments.
Totally. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's really an incredible journey, and we all need to pay attention. Our attention is our energetic currency, and as we
Definitely.
start getting more in tune with that, that's when we can see manifestations through attention. But you got to get your attention off of what's distracting you and get your attention on what is going to bring you home to self. That should be the only concern that you have. That is the
Absolutely.
main concern, because when you serve yourself with the service of source, you can serve your children, you can serve your partner, you can serve humanity, but it
Absolutely.
cannot happen if you do not include yourself into it.
Oh, yeah. Not only can it happen, but it happens on a whole nother level.
Mhm.
It's like I talk to, different light workers and people that, share our perspectives on things. And there's one thing I feel that all light workers should be more focused on than anything else. It's like, it's nice to reach people and it's nice to have, all of these different side things we want to get to. But as you, on a personal level, melding yourself with your higher self, that higher awareness should be a number one priority. It's like, and that goes back to the whole thing about authenticity and allowing those paradigms we hold on to pretty much just melt away, letting, healing and getting past that. That it's just so much inside of us that we are not accessing, due to distractions and different things of that nature. But melding with your higher self and allowing that part of you that, especially with intuition, that's another big one. Intuition is pretty much a conduit for communication with you and your higher self. Trust in that thing as much as possible. Doesn't matter how weird, the idea is that comes to you. Doesn't matter how far-fetched it seems to be. When your higher self is leading you in a certain direction, or when you know that spirit is telling you something, roll with it. Trust it. Allow it to do what it's doing.
Mhm. Yep. And my good friend Ryan, he's a beautiful frequency. Ryan Golly. You guys should link up actually, because he can hear you, see you, know you, and same. But he told me this morning, if you feel it in your body and you go against it, he said, me personally, I am not recycling lessons anymore. Right? That's what he said. And I was like, damn, you're good. I was like, you're right. I'm like, if I listen, my body told me no. I
Absolutely.
can't go against it, because we think too much. And this is what spirit told me the other day, is that everything in humanity right now is a third party communication.
Mm,
You have first party, which is directly from source. That's your communication. The second you speak it out, that's second person to source. And then when there's a witness, that's third person to source. As far
mm.
as that single communication goes, first, second, third, right? And
Yeah,
everything is third party communication, meaning like, oh, will this, hurt this connection? Will this, I'm thinking outside of even source itself, right? I'm taking 3 steps instead of just directly plugging into the first step and hearing it from there. We have to go outside of ourselves in 3
absolutely.
parts to get perspective, but now we're not going to have to do that as much because we're going to be so in tune with our body compass that when my heart starts to race and I feel like I'm going to throw up and I need to run, you're not my mirror.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I can't be in front of you. That's the discernment now. And it's not in a rude way. It's just acknowledging that you are me, and the frequency that I'm bringing in is not in resonance with what yours is. And that's okay. It just means that I can't look at you. Like I literally physically can't be in your presence because it's too sensitive. Like we're too sensitive now.
I love it. The way he articulated that just gave me a good chuckle, you know? And that's the place we got to get to. We got to be at the place where we're fed up with learning lessons. We're fed up with cycles that are not, leading us to our highest good. If we, it's more that needs to happen on a collective level. Just releasing things that you've already identified. They're cyclical in nature. It always happens, whether it be the friends that you associate with, and you've already identified that, this is probably not for my highest good. Why sit around and continue to learn lessons? Why sit around and go through cycles needlessly? This energy that's spent towards people and places and things that are not serving our highest good could be spent towards going within, meditating, and getting a tighter contact with our higher selves. That part of us that's Superman, that part of us Superwoman, source consciousness. Spending our energy and our time being focused on that is more important than dealing with all the folks that ain't going nowhere with you.
Yeah. And the more you focus on that, the more they'll just come. You don't have to go searching for it, because the frequency, the telepathic, empathic communication that we are in pulls us all in. It's the
That's a
reason
good
why
point.
you and I are in front of each other right now after 3 years, because we're on the same channel. It's the same wavelength.
And another thing to add to that, the more that you apply your energy towards, building that strong spiritual connection with your higher self, and understanding the voice of soul, that is the flow. That is the direction that manifests greater things into your life. That family, that soul family, the soul friends, that tribe that that you're supposed to have, and not the people that aren't. That's how you attract them. The power to create that reality has been within you all along. And that's why we have to let go of those cycles. That's why we got to let go of those things that are not positively serving us. Because there's a world of great things waiting on us if we just simply let go and allow greater things to come in.
Absolutely. And, so we have like 5 minutes left, just so you know. But I received this message, really strongly. And what happens when you're in this, super heightened, fast vibrating frequency, again, because, we go in and out of it. And when we're plugged back into it at this level, it's very triggering for people. And like Ryan always tells me, trigger, trigger, trigger. Be courageous enough to speak truth and to be authentic. And if their ego gets triggered, that is for them. You're serving them, because they need to see where they're being triggered. Otherwise, they won't know that it's there. It's not your job to heal it for them. It's just you being authentic. And you don't even have to say anything before people are triggered from your presence.
Absolutely. And another thing to even add with that, when people are triggered, like what we get is the outward appearance of a scenario that seems to be, unpleasant or a little disruptive. Like you don't know how much healing you can create in a person's life by simply being that trigger. Because once they leave that experience, guess what they got to do? They got to go home and look themselves in the mirror and think about the things you said. So it's like you basically force them to transform into something greater without them even, having a consent for it. That's where this whole disruptive appearance comes from. But the reality is you've done this person a world of good even by being the trigger, even though it may not appear that way in this materialized 3D form.
Absolutely.
So, don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of being the trigger. Oh my goodness, that's going to happen. Do not try to avoid it. So long as you are being you, and so long as you're being that light, you're going to show people things about themselves that they may or may not be ready to see, or feel like they may not even be ready to handle. but that source, working through you, that's the universe working through you to awaken these other people. So don't try to, alleviate the scenario of, triggering somebody else or, ruffling somebody's feather, because just know that it's going to happen. It's necessary that it happens, and you're basically creating greater things or a platform for greater things to take place.
Absolutely. And something that I noticed about triggers for everybody that's listening is that the only reason why your body can react in a way to where you're triggered is because there's a belief system that you're a victim still. There's a belief system that you're a victim. Without that energy of victimhood, you wouldn't be triggered, because when you're a conscious creator and you recognize that everything that you receive is you and it's there for you, you don't get triggered, because and that's a whole nother level of evolution and consciousness in itself that not even I or you are completely in yet, because we still get triggered. Now I can alchemize it quicker than I did before, but that initial nervous system reaction will still happen, and I'll notice it and go, ooh, and so I'm like, is this a trigger, or is it telling me that this isn't my mirror? So we're learning a whole new level of this.
Absolutely.
What's a trigger, what's victim, all of that. But when I feel triggered by, like, say, like my partner or somebody that I'm close to, I have noticed that I immediately feel like I'm a victim to something. Right. And so I realize if I write down how I'm feeling, it moves the energy out so it can be seen, heard, and known. And then it doesn't exist in my body anymore. It's like the trigger, the energy of the trigger has to be out so it can be witnessed.
Totally.
Like, you have to witness it.
See, I'm at the point nowadays where I appreciate my triggers. If you can burn me, if you can show me my shadow or show me something new about myself, bring it. Please let me see. Because the quicker I can go through the experience, as quickly as I can transmute this and move on and evolve into something greater. I see those as my opportunities for ascension.
Yep.
Universe never stop them from coming my way. Bring it. Let me go through it. I'll transmute that. I'll move on, and life will be fun.
Yeah, I feel the same way now. So this has been a beautiful conversation. We should probably do this again.
Absolutely.
And I thank everybody here. You probably have 1 to 2 minutes to say anything you'd like to end it out.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody who joined in for this live. I did have a poem prepared to read, but we was kind of just flowing and vibing and almost forgot about it. And I just want to say thank you guys for tuning in. And there is one quick message that I would like to end with. I'm gonna save this poem for another day. But there was a random message that came in this morning, and it came through quickly. And I said, if I get the opportunity to speak, I'll go ahead and talk on it. But anyway, this message is to the light workers and those who have incarnated to assist in building the new earth at this time. And that message is, now is the time to change the landscape of the world you live in. You do this with your music, your art, your influence in education, your common good ideals toward business, and your new and innovative perspectives towards politics. The matrix has fallen, and the world is currently functioning under the illusion that those who were once in control still are when they are not. It is time for the builders of the new earth to build. At this time, the right people are coming together for the right reasons to get the right things done.
Yeah. Woo! I need fireworks like Disney World. Thank you so much for that. It's been a very empowering live. I feel very unified today. With you and everyone on here. Wow.
Totally. We definitely got to do this again sometime.
Yeah, please. And we can take your poems and just so much that we can do. So thank you so much for your time and energy.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody who's been on here. The replay is available on my Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, and on your profile as well. If you accept the collab invite, it'll be on your profile as well.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.